It's my pleasure to introduce Chris Orlob from Gong. Chris is going to be talking to us about how to win more competitive deals. Chris is a highly accomplished SaaS marketing leader with a track record for achieving hyper growth and incredible revenue targets. Top LinkedIn voice from LinkedIn of 2018. Welcome, Chris.
What's good, everybody? How you doing today? Good. So I'm going to get in the way of my own presentation. I like to walk around. I get nervous during these. This helps me deal with the nerves a little bit. But I was on site with a VP of sales last week, and she's in a highly competitive space. And I happen to know this space pretty well, and I can tell you for a fact that her product and her competitor's product, it's like this. She is far superior. But she was complaining about a deal that she had lost to a competitor. It was painful, you could tell. And what drove her absolutely crazy is what the customer told her when they broke the news that they were choosing the competitor. And they said, these products look pretty much identical. This decision is going to come down to price. So to the trained eye, you can tell that her product was top-notch. Customer couldn't see it, though. Who's ever been in that position at some point in their career? Pretty much all of us. Most frustrating thing ever. You know you got the better product. Customer just can't see it. So today we're going to talk about why that happens, why product differentiation is effectively dead, and how you can start winning competitive deals with how you sell instead of relying on what you sell. If you've ever been in a presentation with me, I typically do this every time. We'll have some sort of giveaway at the end here. So make sure you stay tuned through the whole thing. I'm going to give you a hint at how you can get that giveaway right now. Take pictures. Take pictures of your favorite things you're learning throughout this presentation. And when we get to the end, I'll tell you what to do with those so that you can win. Sound good? Everybody say yes? Yes. Okay, so the source of differentiation, the source of competitive differentiation is shifting from product differentiation, your features, unique features, to sales conversations. What your salespeople are saying, doing, and writing during the sales process. That is where the perception of difference is created now. Here's why this is happening. Every category is exploding in competition. Probably yours, there are only a few categories where this doesn't happen, and they're pretty lucky. MarTech is my favorite example. This is, just the most dramatized example you can imagine. So over here on the left, we are looking at all MarTech companies back in 2011. Does anybody know the number for how many vendors there were on this space in 2011?
427.
150. That already seems like a lot. That's already kind of overwhelming. Anybody know what it is now? This is on the right. 5,000, 7,000. I've heard both numbers. Doesn't really make a difference at those when the number's that high. The point is a unique product is probably not cutting through that clutter by itself. The differences are pretty blurred. So you don't have to close your eyes. This isn't like a Tony Robbins event. I would love to have it that way, but you can keep your eyes open. Just imagine your space, and imagine the last 3 years, 5 years, whatever timeline comes to mind, and how competitive it used to be versus how competitive it is today. It's probably more competitive, if not in number of competitors, then in sheer fierceness of competitors. So this whole trend creates what I have named the twin effect. And the twin effect is what you guys heard in the story I told you at the beginning of this presentation. You know your product is different. You know your product is far superior to your competitors. But guess what? You eat, breathe, and sleep your product. You probably don't sleep with your product. Every single day. You guys can tell the difference like the back of your hand, and so can your competitors. But your buyers do not have that advantage. They've seen a product demo or two, and that's about it. And so to them, if you're not doing things right during your customer-facing conversations, it probably looks at parity, or looks to be at parity with your competitor's product. When that happens, who's ever been here? Who knows where I'm going with this slide? The competitor spreadsheet of death, where somebody on the buying organization has this bright idea of they want to make the most intelligent business decision possible. And so they make the spreadsheet, and they compare you feature by feature to figure out what the differences actually are between you and your competitor. They've seen dazzling product demos from both sides, and so they go, enough is enough, let's make it the right decision here. And what ends up happening is they say, first of all, you one-up them on feature A, they match you and one-up you on feature B. It's the spec war. And this spiral continues until your customer decides that these products are at parity. One does this, one does that, but they're pretty much the same, so the winner here is gonna come down to price. You guys already told me, most of us have been there before. It's a pretty painful situation. Common one too. So what we're gonna do for the rest of this presentation, I wish I had more time. We're only gonna talk about 3 strategies for how you can win with how you sell instead of what you sell. There are a lot more than just 3. I picked 3 based on what I know about everybody in the room. We're gonna change that story. So principle number 1, decrease your time to value. Decrease your time to value. That is the amount of time that goes by between the time you start a message and the time the customer or the buyer actually gets value from that message. So here's an example of the opposite of that. Here's how most reps do a demo or a sales presentation. And I'm gonna give you an example. Let's say I'm a sales rep selling a politician on the idea of building a new city in Nebraska. I'm the typical sales rep. I'm doing it the wrong way. Let's keep that in mind. I'm gonna say, Miss Politician, we have this amazing empty plot of land in Nebraska. A few years into this project, we're gonna have streets, we're gonna have sidewalks, we might put in our first stoplight, maybe even a few residences, maybe even a local tavern. 3 or 5 years later, we'll start to have some businesses. We're making progress. And years later after that, probably 10 to 15 years into this project, we're gonna have a thriving city. Now, obviously this was a short pitch. A real life version of this pitch would probably take 30 minutes. And the rep probably thought he or she was doing right by the politician by building anticipation and ramping up, saving the best thing for last. But politicians and your decision makers are busy people, and they just want you to get to the point. They want you to decrease time to value. So if I were the rep competing with the other rep, here's what I would do. I would start with the last thing at the beginning of the presentation. I would flip the model on its head. I would say, Miss Politician, we have plans for building this gorgeous city in an empty plot of land in Nebraska, and I am happy to unpack that plan to whatever detail you want. Counterintuitive. Most salespeople don't do this. And if you do this while your competitor doesn't, you're going to create a different perception of how valuable your product is. So, where can you decrease your time to value? That example was in a sales pitch or a sales presentation, like a slide deck or a product demo. Where else can you do it? Just shout them out. Conversation? Emails? Emails is my favorite one. You have to read to the bottom. I actually read the bottom of emails before I read the top because I know it's gonna take that long. Now, sometimes you have to build context, like you can't just get straight to the point. You do have to build context. But the point is to decrease your time to value. So the real answer to this question is every communication your company makes. Emails, product demos, press release. This goes beyond sales. But if you use it as a sales professional or you deploy this principle across your organization as a sales leader, your competitors aren't doing this. I can almost guarantee that. Principle number 2, tribal social proof. Tribal. What do I mean by that? The opposite of tribal social proof is generic social proof. Who's familiar with our research, Gong Labs? Who's read our stuff on LinkedIn? So for those of you who haven't, we have a database. Today it's up to 5 million sales conversations recorded that we analyze with AI. And we figure out what the best salespeople are doing according to data. And this is actually one of the more counterintuitive things that we've discovered. We've found that when a sales rep uses social proof techniques, it correlates with deals going south. But every sales trainer in the world is teaching you to use social proof. So here's what not to conclude from this. Social proof doesn't work. That's what not to do. Or that's what not to conclude. What's actually happening is 99% of salespeople are misapplying how to use social proof. And they're doing it in a way that alienates customers. So they rattle off a list of their biggest logos, regardless of what industry the buyer's in. And they launch into the story of the latest case studies that marketing generated for them. And this is the effect it has on the customer. They say, I don't care if Google's your customer, we're nothing like them. Assuming that's true and they're nothing like Google. When you are talking about your customers, your customer base, in an attempt to persuade your buyer, case studies, name dropping, anything like that, this is the question going through your buyer's mind. Are they like me in some way? Are they in my industry? Are they going through the same problem I'm going through? Are they in my geography? You don't have to match all of those, but you got to get at least one. And if they're not, if the answer is no, then you're alienating your buyer. So let's go through another pretend exercise. And let's say we're marketing or selling to a marketing software company. I'm going to show you how not to do this and how to do this. Here's how a bad salesperson would do this. We work with Walmart, Oracle, and Fidelity. 1 out of 3 of these maybe is going to resonate. Oracle. Remember our audience, marketing technology. That's how a bad sales rep would do it. Here's how an average sales rep would do it. We work with Marketo, Oracle, Instapage. All of these are marketing tech companies. This is better than the last one, but it's still not powerful enough. Here's how a superstar rep would do it. This is a list of everybody in your space. We work with 17 of them. That number is up from just 4 a few years ago. That sends a powerful message. The message is not, we work with a few customers that are like you. The message is, your tribe is bandwagoning onto this type of solution. Bandwagoning. This is another thing that I can guarantee that your competitors are not doing. They are creating a misperception with generic social proof, and you can take advantage of that by tightening yours. How you sell. All right, last one. This is the most important one. This is also the most seldomly applied one. Make your buyers value your uniqueness before you deliver a uniqueness message. We've all heard this before, sell the problem before you sell the solution. And most of us are pretty good at doing it. But we forget to apply it in the micro scenario that is competitive differentiation. At a broad level, we sell the problem our solution is designed to address. But when it comes to selling the unique part of our solution. We haven't sold the mini problem that uniqueness is designed to solve. And if you don't do that and you just rattle off how your product is unique, it doesn't have a fertile landing spot and it's not going to resonate with your buyer. So here's how we do this at Gong. This is one way we do this at Gong. We start with the problem. We say the oldest problem in sales is this gap where you've got a handful of top reps and everybody else is just doing okay. And it's great that you have these top reps overachieving, doing 200% of quota, but it's frustrating to see their overachievement canceled out by everybody else who's doing 80% of quota. And so then we lead into our uniqueness rather than with it. We say we're the only solution that can tell you what separates your best reps from everybody else and helps you drive that behavior through your organization. When you're selling the problem, this is worth screenshotting, putting on a sticky note, and returning to it for the rest of your career. The principle is, if you can describe the problem better than the customer can describe their own problem themselves, they will automatically assume you have the best solution. It's automatic. So these three strategies, my goal is to make these as actionable as possible. You're probably going to have to do a little bit of thinking to as to how to apply this in your own organization. They're not going to happen by accident. You have to put thinking and intention behind this, whether you're a rep or whether you're at a more strategic level, figuring out how you're going to deploy this across your entire organization. And each one of these, here's what's kind of scary about each of these three principles. They're counterintuitive. So it's intuitive to do a build-up style product demo where you save the grand finale at the end. It's counterintuitive to flip that model on its head and start with the most important thing. It's intuitive to rattle off any customer you can think of that you work with in an attempt to influence your buyer. It's counterintuitive to bite your tongue and only talk about customers that you know are going to resonate with them. It's intuitive to just describe how your product is unique. It's counterintuitive to back up for a second and make sure that description has a fertile landing spot by selling the problem first. So here's a quick way to make sure you're making good on all three of these principles. Use a checklist. Who's heard of the book Checklist Manifesto? Anybody? I've actually not read the book. I've heard great things, and I'm a big user of checklists myself. And so I made one for you that I think would be useful, and it's completely free. It's a PDF. You can print it out. If you're a sales leader, I would recommend printing this out. If you really want to go above and beyond, get a laminated version, get a bunch of them, because the message that sends when you plaster that on the wall of your sales floor communicates loud and clear to your reps that you expect them to go into their calls prepared instead of winging it. So here's how you can get your free checklist. Take your favorite picture that you took during this presentation and post it on LinkedIn. You have to tag myself and Gong, though, or else I'm not going to see it. So it might sound like Chris Horlob from Gong shares da-da-da-da-da-da. And once you do, it might take me till tonight, it might take me till tomorrow, but I will personally send you the PDF. I'm not going to make you fill out a landing page, nothing like that. It's all yours. I'll send it through a LinkedIn message. So post your LinkedIn picture right now, tag Chris Horlob, tag Gong. I'll get to you hopefully today, worst case scenario tomorrow. And that brings us to the end. What questions do we have? We probably got some time, right? A few minutes?
Yeah.
Yes?
So going back to the starting point of when it comes down to just pricing, what if one of the products you're selling is a commodity?
Give me an example. Like what are you selling that you think is a commodity?
It's traditional coupon clearing and rebates settlement. That part of the business is a dying breed, and there's only 3 folks.
I can't tell you what specifically to do in your business because it's going to require a lot of domain knowledge, but I've never seen a business that could not be differentiated, even if it's just the brand. Who's ever heard of a differentiated brand of tofu? Nobody, right? That's just because a smart marketer has not decided to do that yet. Somebody has not decided that they're going to solve that problem. For you, it could be different. I'm skeptical, though. I think just about anything can be differentiated. If not by product, then by buying experience or some sort of brand element like hotness. There's a lot more you can differentiate with than just the product. I would actually encourage you to read a book called Differentiate or Die by Jack Trout and Al Reese. They're like the godfathers of modern positioning. I think that'll help. It's called Differentiate or Die. If you think I come up with sensational headlines. Other questions? Yep.
So I know in the first step you recommended decreasing the time to value.
Yep.
But I think one disconnect that I feel like I've noticed when I try to do that is like taking your example with the city of Nebraska, you know?
Mm-hmm.
If you come to a politician and you say, I'm going to build, like, we're going to make this sparkling new city with the new international airport, whatever it is.
Yeah.
When they picture what it is now, there seems to sometimes be a disconnect between what it is now and where it could be. I don't know if that's making sense, but sometimes when I'll call people for a business, I'll spout off a couple things that we've actually done for every business that's jumped on, but people don't understand. Like, they look at it and they think that's not possible, or I don't believe you, you're just a salesperson spouting off these fans. Like, do you have any recommendations for how to? So
I'm going to be a little bit blunt, so just bear with me. You're not following the principle of decrease your time to value when you do that. Because the goal is decrease your time to value, not decrease your time to the end result message. So who defines value? You or your customer? The customer. So the value for them might not be, you helped X customer achieve Y result. It might be you deliver an insight of some sort, or you talk about their problem. I'm not necessarily saying get to the end result of like your product. I'm saying decrease the time it takes for you to deliver a valuable message. Does that make sense? That's actually a really important one. I'll take that one step further. Value is in the contrast. So when you deliver an end result message like that, like we helped decrease ramp time 50% without giving them the before state, they don't have a way to value it because value's in the contrast. They have to have the context of what life looks like before that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Great.
You did a good job.
Yes.
Fine.
I saw a hand go up over here. Yep.
Could you give an example of like the language that you use when you're using the tribal social proof? Because it's probably not very efficient to list 17 companies that I'm working with every single somebody. So
I would use this slide. It depends on the context. Like if I'm an account executive having an in-depth, web conference meeting, then I'm going to use a slide like this. If I'm making like an outbound cold call, I'm going to have a list of 3 to 5, maybe 7. I'm probably not going to get to 7 relevant customers to be able to name drop, and I'm going to make damn sure that they're going to catch the prospect's attention. So in some cases, I'm just name dropping customers. In some cases, I'm doing something a little fancier like a deck. And in some cases, I'm talking about just one customer, but I'm telling the story of that customer because I know it's going to resonate with the buyer. There are different techniques for social proof. Social proof by itself is not one technique. Yeah?
For decreased time to value, have you found that's applicable throughout like the entire sales process, especially if it is a bit more complex, as in obviously in the initial conversations, but even something like a negotiation?
It's always applicable. But you have to be sure to not misinterpret it as a principle. It's not, decreased time to showing them product. It's decreased time to whatever they value in that moment, whether it's talking about their problem, delivering, the first part of your presentation rather than saving it for the end. It's about gutting the fat from your sales cycle. Like removing the excess verbiage that doesn't really have any value to the customer. How are we doing on time? Any more questions?
5 minutes.
Couple more? Yep. Red?
Yes,
Yeah.
with that, how do you use Gong to then teach your sales force how to drop and trim that extra fat?
Well, Gong can't do it. Gong is just the linchpin for you to be able to do it. Gong's not going to do it by itself. It's going to require coaching. Gong can give you that opportunity, and I don't want to turn this into like a product thing, but you can't do it without getting visibility into what your reps are doing in the first place during your sales calls. Gong opens up that black box, so now you can see if your reps are doing that, and if they are, now you can have that coaching conversation. That's the short answer. Yeah. Yes?
Chris, you've given 3 suggestions on how to win on how you sell. You said you had many more. We have a couple minutes. Why don't you
Follow me on LinkedIn. I'll write a post about it. Actually, I already did a couple weeks ago. You can go check that one out. I'm going to dodge that bullet for now, though. Okay, thank you, guys.